All right, people, let's talk. Let's talk about logic, what's actually happening, what could be happening, and what's going on. So, let's put these things into perspective. What do I mean? Well, they've been hiding, the government has been hiding the fact that extraterrestrials might exist. Let's not say that they do, let's say they might. That there are craft that are visiting Earth that were not made on Earth, and that there are basically things that are going on that people have been speculating because they've witnessed and they've been suppressed, killed, shut down, or what have you. But now, thanks to the COVID bill, President Trump, and whoever else is responsible for this disclosure, information is beginning to be released. I'm sure that the people that were keeping it suppressed understood that this couldn't happen forever, and sooner or later they would have to spill the beans, if it were, as it were. However, why now? And what's going down that right now it's okay to start telling all these humans that they're afraid of telling before, in fear of, I don't know, pandemonium, Mad Max type stuff. Who knows? If you really think about it, a person is smart, a human being. If you've ever seen a person do something out of necessity of the will to live, you will know that a person is capable of a lot more than you think. In terms of evil, in terms of wit, in terms of, being productive, being very handy. I learned a lot of this in jail, and I only spent about 2 weeks in jail. And it was neither here nor there as to why I was there. However, I learned that people can be very, very innovative if, posed to it. Or if you have nothing else to do but to be innovative, you will invent some shit, crazy shit. So, just like there's been a suppression on all these things, and people that did get, abducted by aliens, people that saw ships, the government had a program to the point where the government would visit them after their encounter as the aliens or as something else and just retweak their opinion on it. So if the aliens said, no, everything's fine, you're going to be good, here's an ashtray, to remember us by, the government would swoop in 2 days later as the same entities and take the ashtray and say, you're not worthy, fuck you, we're going to kill you if you talk. But why? Because we weren't ready. Who determines that we're not ready? The government. Well, who's giving them orders? The lizard people, okay? The lizard people or the draconians or however you want to call them, are giving the government orders, hypothetically, right? So now it's getting to the point where they can't hide it anymore because people are just because this is what happens. You're at a crossroads of if people are going to find out everything that you're doing, and like without a shadow of a doubt, they're going to find out because a craft is going to enter into the atmosphere and there's no way that anyone's going to miss it. And like everyone's going to see it, they're going to be like, you motherfuckers. There's no trust. So what? How many times has the government betrayed us and nobody gives a shit, really? I mean, people give a shit, but they don't do anything about it. This would be a unity of a lot of people on this earth that are going against a few people on this earth. Just like you could see with the stock market, what happened now with the Reddit guy and the GameStop. The billionaires and the people that are investing for a long time, they've been doing this forever. You manipulate stocks, so that the prices plummet, people lose money, then they rebuy at a lower price, resell, and then give back what they borrowed. So someone saw this trend emerging and convinced a bunch of civilians, well, not civilians, but non-investors to buy a stock and manipulate it our way. It is 100% illegal, but then again, so is what the billionaires do. Like insider trading is illegal, but come on. Are you kidding me right now? If I work for a stock company, a stock market, or a big hedge fund or whatever, and we're making big moves, I'm not going to tell my friends. Why? Because I'm infringing? Come on, guys. Give me a fucking break. Everyone does that. Everyone does insider trading. That's how the entire stock market operates. It's who is in the know. Yes, you can predict patterns, of course. There will be patterns that are naturally affected by what happens in the world, but in the end of the day, it's just who you know. So this guy got a bunch of people together and they fucked the billionaires over big time. It's kind of like that movie Trading Places at the end, when when Valentine and Billy Ray Valentine and the other guy, Lewis, Thorne, whatever, when they screwed him over because they did the same thing. They gave him a fake report, the fake crop report, and then, they acted on the fake crop report because they were in the know, and then yada, 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 yada. But this is what happened here. So once that happened, and the Reddit people, drove the stock up so high that all these billionaires lost so much money because they put in a lot of money to get this to go down, and it didn't. In fact, it went up. Now they have to rebuy higher. And, so what they did was they stopped the stock market. They literally said no one can buy any more shares of this stock, which has never happened before, I don't think, in this kind of caliber, because the only reason that it was proposed was because the people were losing a lot of money. That is 100% illegal, against everything that the stock market stands for and represents. You're supposed to be able to buy or sell as many as you want, considering the fact that it is a stock market. So how are you going to tell me if a bunch of people outsmarted you and played you and beat you at your own game, showed you that most of the people is way better than a little bit of the people in terms of, if you want to go versus, you're just going to stop the stock market? That's fucked up. That's a lot of power. But that also shows the people that did this that there's no trusting you whatsoever. So if anything, this created more of a separation between the elite and everyone that's not elite. But hopefully what happened in the stock market will make most of us, or the rest of us, understand that if we unite, we truly unite, we will overthrow anything. That's how governments get overthrown. That's how coups d'etats get formed. It's not a bunch of Antifa storming the fucking Capitol building, which, by the way, is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard in my life. Even if it was Antifa, even if the cops didn't let them in, which I saw clearly the cops letting them in, even if that wasn't the case, it's the Capitol building. Like, are you joking me right now? They could have all been shot so easily, and there would be no BLM or WLM or any kinds of LM, because this would have been people that are storming the Capitol building. They all would have been shot, and that was it. Then everybody would have known not to fucking storm the Capitol building, period. But it's just such a free country, and people are allowed to walk into the Capitol building and get arrested afterwards. And the person that discovered Nancy Pelosi's computer killed himself with an AK-47 that was 2 floors away from him when the cops found him. So yeah, when his whole family was away and he was in he went down to the basement and shot himself with the AK and then threw it up 2 floors through the wall somehow. So you see, there's nothing fair in this world when it comes to the government. And this is why people are, less likely to trust and believe them, because the government really does do everything for them to stay in control and power. It is very much greed involved. And it's very hypocritical in that sense. Like, I understand a greedy person, but a person that's not hypocritical. Like, I'm greedy and I know it. I'm not going to call you a greedy bastard because I know you're a greedy bastard too. But they're not. They're very hypocritical. And I really hope that you guys hear what I'm saying to you. And just understand, you don't have to go and do anything about this. You just have to know in the back of your mind and understand that if there comes a time where we have to show or we have to stand up for anything, doesn't matter what it is, we all have to do it, and we actually have to do it. And if we do, it won't even take 2 days. The government will be completely powerless. Yes, some people might die, of course. Can we do it without dying? Probably. Nonviolent protests, they could work. Martin Luther King did. I mean, it cost him his life, and it took a lot longer. But I'll tell you what, 10 days of a nonviolent protest is 10 hours of a violent protest. And the result's going to be the same. Just going to be a little bit more damage. But after a couple of those, I think the government will quickly begin to understand, well, not understand, but realize that they have no control over the people in this country. Because there's things that separates the people in this country from people in other countries is exactly why Japan didn't attack California in the Second World War. They could have. They could have attacked the West Coast, could have invaded the West Coast. Instead, they just bombed Pearl Harbor with kamikaze pilots. The reason they didn't invade the West Coast, because they were very, very full and well aware that every single person in the 40s had a rifle or a gun or both in their house. So if the Japanese are going to invade California, they're going to be met with a force that was probably more aggressive than the military at that point, because they'd been fighting a world war for the past couple of years. So that's the same thing that's happening now. But of course, the Chinese are the ones that are trying to take over, but they're doing it in a smarter fashion. And hopefully, people catch on to this rather sooner than later because it's going to be too late. So the Chinese have been, first of all, they went to Jamaica and they said, we'll pay all your debts, we'll give you all this money, yada yada. Same thing in Barbados or Bermuda, one of those two. And now they went to Oklahoma, which is, not just Oklahoma, but all the kind of like areas where the ranches are in Middle America, Central America. So they went right into the center and they started giving ranchers that owned all this land double their money or, 150% to sell their ranch. And obviously they would take it, they bounced. So they left. So now Chinese are own a bunch of ranches in the middle of America, which means they'll control probably some of the food, and then Bill Gates controls the rest. So basically what I'm getting to this whole thing, with the government releasing these files, with everything that's happening now, you and I, if you're listening to this, are privileged to be alive at this moment in history. Because something's going to happen within the next few years. It has to. If it's not going to happen sooner than that, it's going to have to at least happen in the next few years. Which is why the government is already kind of admitting the fact that they're losing grip on this control that they've had on us the whole time. Or this is a complete simulation. It's all a computer program and a game, and it's not even 2021. Maybe it's the year 1971. And 1950s is when they figured out all this stuff, and they just stopped it there. And nobody's actually ever seen what 1981 looks like because it hasn't happened yet.